Okay, so we're recording now. Again, welcome and thank you for joining us today. Feel free to take notes or take pictures of the screen. That would be more efficient, or you can take down notes because we will be going through a lot of important steps for the Cal State application. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the chat box and we'll be able to help you out with that. So get to know us. I'll go ahead and introduce myself first, and then you'll be able to meet my colleague, Nicole. So my name is Ivy, and I am a transfer mentor at the ELAC Transfer Center. I majored in psychology at Cal State Long Beach, and I minored in sociology there. After that, what I'm doing right now, I'm currently in the master's program pursuing college counseling at Cal State Dominguez Hills. So again, if you have any questions about Cal State Long Beach or Dominguez Hills, I love both of those schools. A fun fact about me, I have a dog. His name is Charlie, and he just turned 8 yesterday. So we had like a little at-home birthday party for him. Now, go ahead and let my colleague Nicole introduce herself right now.
Hi, everyone. Somebody's car alarm just went off, so I'm so sorry about that. My name is Nicole. I'm also a transfer mentor at ELAC Transfer Center. For undergrad, I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I majored in global and international studies, and I received an education minor. I'm also a grad student right now, but for Cal State Northridge for the College Counseling and Student Services program. A fun fact about me, I actually took 2 years of German while I was at UCSB. I don't remember too much, but that's a fun fact. And then I'll be monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So for the agenda today, we'll be going over the application timeline, the dates that you really need to know, requirements that you need in order to apply, and then we'll go over the Cal State Apply Guide. So we'll go over the 4 quadrants and what you need to complete in each quadrant and how to apply. And then at the end, we'll have some surveys for you. Nicole will give us a link so that you can just let us know how we're doing, what the Transfer Center can do to improve our services in the future. That'll be really helpful for us. So, Cal State application timeline. So for spring semester admissions, we are getting notified on what schools will be open for spring admits. So if you want extra information about that, we can help you at the end. But the application opens on August 1st and it closes on August 31st. And so you can start the application process on August 1st. That's when it opens. After you submit your application, there will be a September update just so that you can send in like your final grades that you've taken in the summer, things like that. And then admissions notifications, you should be finding out whether or not you were accepted or denied from the school in the fall of 2020. For fall semester admissions, the application opens on October 1st. And it closes on November 30th. So you have those 2 months to finish your application. And in January, there is a January update. So during that time, you'd go back into your application, update your grades, and then you would submit it again. And then admissions notification should come out spring 2021. So make sure that you write these deadlines down because they are really important. You don't want to miss the deadline to apply. So what are the requirements to apply? Some requirements to apply to a Cal State. For the Cal State General Education Breadth, if you're following the GE pattern, what it is the Golden 4. This means that the requirements must be met. You need this in order to transfer. So the Golden 4 is Area A1, which is oral communication. This is the Communications 101 class that you should have taken at ELAC or are in the process of taking. Area A2, written communication. This is English 101. Area A3, critical thinking. So it could be any of these classes. It could be COM 104, English 102 or 103, or philosophy 6 and 8. So any of those classes work for that critical thinking requirement. And then area B4, the last of the golden four, is transferable math. So usually people may take math 227, that's like stats class, but any transferable math is level 200 or higher. And so you can find this general education GE breath on the blue form at ELAC, but now since we're all online, I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So California State University General Education Certification. It's usually blue, but since we're online, it's all white now. And then if you can see where we circled in red, that's the golden four. So 1, oral communication, 2, written communication, 3, critical thinking, and 4, math. And so you need the golden four in order to transfer. Another thing that you can use to satisfy that requirement to go to a Cal State is called IGETC, which is also it's called Intersegmental General Education Transfer Curriculum, but that's a really long way to say IGETC. And so it's pretty much the same requirement as the GE breath. The golden four must be met. So again, area 1A is English 101, English comp. Area 1B is critical thinking, which is English 102 or 103. Area 1C could be COM 101. And Area 2 could be a transferable math, which is a level 200 or higher. If you're following the IGETC pattern, this is the green form at ELAC. So usually students will follow IGETC if they're not sure whether or not they want to transfer to a UC or a Cal State. So that's when students would usually follow IGETC. If you're like, no, I for sure want to go to a Cal State, students would usually follow the CSU GE breath. But again, both of those curriculum you need in order to transfer to a Cal State. They both satisfy it. So I'll show you what that form looks like for IGETC. It's usually a green form, but since we're online now, this is what it looks like. And so area 1, you can see the CSU requirement right here. You need 3 courses, 1 from each group, group A, B, and C. So this is the English comp, critical thinking, oral communication, and then 1 from area 2, which is math. So again, this is the golden 4 that you need in order to transfer to a Cal State. Okay. So now we'll be going over the Cal State application guide. So if you have not already gone onto this website to look at it, what you would do is you would log into a web browser, so Google Chrome, whatever you use, Internet Explorer. You'd go ahead and put this link in, which is calstate.edu/apply, and click in whatever term you're applying for. Make sure that you choose the correct term because you don't want to apply for something that has already passed. So you will select the Apply Now icon located in the center of the page and then choose the correct term that you're applying for. So if you're applying for fall, make sure that you're clicking fall. And then once you create your account, if you do not have an account yet, you will select the Create an Account button right here on the right. If you already have an account, feel free to sign in. And then once you're creating your account, make sure that you provide complete and accurate information about yourself. And then as you fill out each section carefully, be sure to read the terms and conditions. After you review your information, like making sure that you're writing in everything correctly, you can create your username and password and then click Create My Account. It's really, really important that you write down or note somewhere your username and your password, because a lot of times, you know, we get mixed up with our passwords and our usernames, and you just forget sometimes. So I really want to encourage you all, once you create this account, to write down your username and password. Okay. And then once you're completing your profile, you will need to indicate that you're pursuing a first bachelor's degree. So when where it says degree goal, what degree, credential, or certificate are you applying for? You want to click on first bachelor's degree, and then it'll have a drop-down menu of questions. So it says, which of the following best describes your current educational status? So we want to make sure that you're clicking either transferring with an associate degree for transfer, or transferring from a community college or four-year institution. And I can go into more detail on what the difference is between having a general AA and transferring with an associate degree for transfer. We'll be going over that in the next few slides. So you'll have that option. And then if you are for sure getting your associate degree for transfer, whether that's Associate of Arts for transfer or Associate of Science for transfer, you need to indicate that. So click on where it says transferring with an associate degree for transfer, because that's how you'll get that. That's how the Cal State application will know that you're receiving the benefits of the ADT applicant. And then make sure that you select greater than or equal to 60 units or 90 quarter hours when you're applying, because you will be applying as a junior transfer applicant. Even though you don't have 60 right now, if by the end of what the semester before you're transferring, you have 60 units, that's what they're looking for. You're saying that by the time I transfer, I'll have 60 or more units. And then you will also indicate whether you have previously attended any Cal State. So for example, if you have attended Cal State LA before and it didn't work out for some reason, and then you started attending ELAC, then that's something that you would need to indicate as well. Okay, and so here we'll be showing you the difference between getting an associate degree for transfer and an associate degree in general studies, so not for transfer. On the left is what you usually would see if you're getting an associate degree for transfer. So this is an example of an associate of science in business admin for transfer. And so what this means is that you'll get the benefits of getting an ADT. So you'll be guaranteed admissions to one of the Cal States. You'll get a 0.1 GPA boost. You'll be considered local area. And so this is what Cal States are usually looking for. And all the classes that you're taking for your associate degree for business admin are the requirements for Cal State for their business major. However, a lot of times students may transfer without getting an associate degree for transfer, and that's completely fine as well. So on the right-hand side, you can see an associate in arts degree in general studies. And so you're not necessarily getting an associate degree for transfer, you still are getting an associate's degree. You just won't be receiving the same benefits as those who are getting an associate degree for transfer. And this is what it looks like. On top of that, you may also be taking some extra classes that you would need in order to transfer to your Cal State of choice in your major of choice, but you would need to talk to your counselor for more information about that. So a lot of times students will be getting an associate degree for transfer in order to receive the benefits, and other times students may just be getting their associate's degree in general studies. So make sure that you are sure of which path that you're taking. Okay, so there are 23 Cal State campuses. You can see all the Cal States in NorCal and then in SoCal. This is where we're closest to. So the furthest away from us would probably be Humboldt State, Chico, and then there's San Jose State. And then the one closest to us would be Cal State LA, Cal State Dominguez Hills, Northridge, Long Beach. And so what we're interested in in this slide is, which Cal State are you interested in applying to? So I'll actually be having a poll right now. So it should pop up in your screens. Which CSU are you interested in applying to? So you go ahead, it'll be anonymous. You can click multiple Cal States as well. If your Cal State is not on there, you can click other. It's just because we couldn't have 23 different options, but feel free to just click whichever ones that you're most interested in, and then I can show everyone what schools we're most interested in. So far I think I need 4 more people to answer the polls. No one is interested in going to Humboldt or or Monterey. It's funny. Okay, so I think we're just missing a couple, but I will end the poll right now and I'll share the results with everyone. So our top choice was Cal State LA at 84%. 27 out of 32 people want to or are interested in applying to Cal State LA. Second runner-up is Cal State Long Beach, go Beach. And then Cal State Dominguez Hills, go Toros. Fullerton are like Titans, I think. Yeah. And then CSUN, Nicole, what's CSUN's?
They're Matadors.
Oh, Matadors. And then some people chose San Jose, San Francisco, and then others chose other schools that they're interested in applying to. That's really interesting. Thank you all for sharing. It was really interesting to know where you all want to apply to. Okay. So when we're selecting schools and your major, this is what it will look like. Once you go to campus, you can select one campus at a time. So for example, a lot of students were interested in Cal State LA. So you would find Cal State LA on campus. And then And then this student wanted to major in criminal justice, and their alternate program was sociology. So I'll go into more details about what the alternate program means, but once you click your campus as well as your major, you can click on that blue box at the top where it says, I am done, review my selections. So after you click on that, you can add in your majors. So some schools allow you to select an alternate program. And so what this means is that if your major is pretty impacted, meaning that there's not a lot of room for a lot of students to come in as that major, you may be required to select an alternative program. So for this, you do not have to complete the required coursework. You'll complete it once you transfer. So if you're transferring to Cal State LA, that's when you would complete it. So for example, that student was interested in criminal justice, and these are the options where that student can select for an alternate program. So for example, if that student was interested in anthropology, they can select that. Again, you will most likely not be able to switch back into your intended major once you transfer. So make sure that this alternate program is something that you find yourself doing in the future, because schools, or especially Cal States, are so impacted nowadays. It is really hard to transfer or to switch back into your major. Okay, so for application homepage, after you have selected the school and the major, this is what your application homepage will look like. It's 4 different quadrants. The first one's personal information. Second one is academic history. Third is supporting information. And fourth is program materials. So these quadrants represent the sections that you need to complete. So you need to make sure that all 4 of these have that green circle and a check mark. to show that you have completed your requirements. So the first quadrant that we'll be going over is personal information. So if you look where it says 0 out of 7 sections completed, if you see where it says release statement, that's one section, biographic information, that's another section. So pretty much you'll have to complete everything in this personal information quadrant in order to complete it. And we'll go over citizenship and residency information. Just because everything else is pretty straightforward, this part is a little bit more complicated. So again, if you ever have any questions, please feel free to ask us. If you are a US citizen or permanent resident, please select that option. So on the right-hand side, it says country of citizenship. You can select United States, and so on and so forth. If you identify as an undocumented or AB 540 student, you will select none in the option and indicate when your residency in California began. So when did you start living in California? And this is really important so that we can help you fill out some paperwork. And we'll go more in depth with that. So on the right-hand side, it says, what US state do you regard as your permanent home? So that would be California. Do you claim California residency? You can select yes if you do. And then have you lived in California continuously since birth? So if you weren't born here, you can select no, and then let us know when you began to stay in California, the date. International students will select non-resident, and you will then select your country of citizenship. Then you'll be able to put in the necessary visa information. And make sure to fill out each section carefully and accurately, because a lot of times students get confused in this part. But it's really important that you put in the right information. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. So for undocumented students or AB 540 students, this is the California non-resident tuition exemption request. And we can help you fill out this form as well. It's pretty much for those who were not born in California, or maybe you left for a little bit, like you moved to a different state and then you came back. This is just to verify that you've been here for at least 3 years. And we'll be able, again, to help you fill this out if you have any questions about it. Okay, so the second quadrant is academic history, and there are 8 sections again that you'll have to complete in order to get that green circle and the check mark that says you're good to go. So for high school information, you will be asked to input all the high schools you have attended along with the dates that you attended them. So if it's been a long time ago, I think it's really important for us to look back on our records to see when you started and when you graduated. And you will indicate whether you received a high school diploma or an equivalent, which is like a GED, along with the date that you received it. So you'll have to look up your high school. So for those who went to Theodore Roosevelt, you can look it up and then put in the dates attended. For term type, there's different term types. So it's semester, trimester, quarter, whatever system your high school went on, you would put in that term type. And then graduation status, you can put high school diploma, high school equivalent, or I didn't graduate from high school. Most of the time, it should be high school diploma or high school equivalent, which is a GED. For colleges attended, in this section, you will add all colleges that you currently and previously attended. So make sure that you add in everything. So even if you went to Pasadena City College for one class, one semester, you still have to add that college in. Even if you went to Cal State LA many years ago and you didn't do so well in your classes, you still have to add it in. So it's really important that you add in all the colleges that you currently and previously attended, because they will find out if you are hiding any information, either purposefully or that you forgot. So make sure that you really put in everything and you're not hiding anything because they will figure it out. So make sure that you have the start and end dates correctly filled out as well. And you can click on add a college icon and then search for any college that you have previously attended. So after that, you will have the option to mark in progress if you're still attending the school. And then you can input the anticipated completion term. So for example, if you're still going to ELAC right now and you're going to LBCC, you can add in that you're going to both schools and you're still attending it. So you can say you started August 2015 to still attending because you're still attending classes there. But for example, if you went to Los Angeles Mission College in 2017 and you only went there for one semester, you can put June 2017 to December 2017. So it's like the start date and the end date of when you stopped going to school there. And so make sure that you add in all the colleges. I can't emphasize this enough, even if it's a college in the LACCD district. So if, for example, you're taking an online class at LA Trade Tech, but you've never physically been on campus, you still have to add that college in as LA Trade Tech. So anything outside of ELAC, you have to put in as a different college. We want to make sure that you have your transcripts ready to ensure accuracy. So it'll be easiest if you print out an unofficial copy of your transcript and just cross it out as you input your classes and your grades, as well as the dates. And then the transcript entry part, this is probably the part that takes the longest amount of time, I feel like. Because if you went to a lot of different colleges, it will be a little bit more time consuming. If you've only gone to ELAC, then I feel like it'll take a little bit less time. But we do want to make sure that you're putting everything in correctly. So again, make sure that you have everything, the transcripts printed out. And so you will click on the start icon to begin, and then you'll add a semester. So once you add a semester, so it would be the first semester that you started here. So it could be fall of 2016 or whenever it is that you started. So you go semester by semester, adding in all your classes, adding in the grades that you got in your classes, how many units that class was, and whether or not it's transferable. So it'll say CSU transferable on your transcripts if it is. But if it doesn't, then you would unclick the box and we'll show you what that looks like. So you'll input all the courses that you have taken in the past, the courses that you're currently enrolled in, and then any future courses that you plan to take. And then once you input all of your courses, you'll be able to calculate your GPA, your transferable GPA. Because a lot of times we take classes that aren't transferable to CSUs, or we take classes that are only transferable to UCs, or they're not transferable at all. We want to make sure that you have your transferable GPA to CSU. And then lastly, you'll be able to indicate which general education requirements you have fulfilled. So we'll show you what that looks like as well. So this is what I was talking about in regards to, it's really important that you have your unofficial transcripts printed out. And so you can just go one by one and then cross it out. So for this student, the term, they started at ELAC in fall of 2015 as a freshman. And then completion status, since this was back then, they have already completed it. So you can put complete. However, if you're putting classes that you're currently taking right now or you're taking in the future, it should say in progress or planned. So since this is in the past for fall 2015, the first class that they've taken, well, this is an AP class, so they probably took that in high school. So they're putting their AP credit in the first semester, which is fine as well. So you'd put in AP Spanish, and then the course title would be language, and so whatever the title is for that AP class. Subject is humanities. It's 3 units. So if you look, I like to say, imagine like an imaginary period right there. So it's 3.00. So that rounds up to 3 units. And then the grade, it's AP because it was an AP course. And is it transferable? If you check box it, it means that it's transferable to CSU. But let's say the student took English 101 during their first year at ELAC. They would put in English 101 as the course code. For course title, on your transcripts, it'll have the title of what English 101 is. And so it should be college reading. I think it's college reading and comprehension if I'm not wrong, but you would just put in the course title. The subject would be English, and it's 3 units, so it's 3.003 units. And then for the grade, it's RP because the student repeated this course. And so we can go into more detail with that if you're confused on how to input your grades, whether it's a repeat grade or if you got an academic renewal. So if this is the first time the student has taken English 101 and they repeated it in the future, you would have to put in both classes. So if you took it in fall, English 101, you'd put in RP. And if you took it again in the spring because you didn't pass, you can put in English 101, everything else, and then your passing grade. So the first attempt would be RP. The second attempt would be your passing grade. And this is transferable still, so you'd click the checkbox where it says transferable. And we want to make sure that you're putting everything in on your transcripts onto your application. So even if you withdrew from the class, you still need to report it. So it has to look exactly like your transcripts. So whatever you're putting onto the Cal State application, it has to look exactly like your transcripts. So this student took Kin 237, which is boot camp. The subject is kinesiology. It's a 1-unit course, but this student withdrew from the class. So you put in a W. So it shows up W on your transcript. You would put W onto the application. And it's still transferable, so you'll click on that. For Math 125, some of you may have taken this class. However, if you look on your transcript, it doesn't say CSU. So what this means is it's not transferable. You'll still put it into the Cal State application. So you'll put Math 125, Intermediate Algebra as the course title. For subject, it's mathematics. For credits, it's 3 units. And then whatever grade you received, so it was a B. And then where it says transferable, notice how it's not checked off because it's not transferable to CSU. And you'll see what that looks like on your transcripts. If it says CSU on your transcripts on the right-hand side, it'll be transferable. If it doesn't say CSU, it's not transferable to CSU. So you'll still have to put it into the application. You just won't check it off saying it's transferable. And then for COM 101, public speaking, communications, it's 3 units. Notice how this student put AR. This is for the grade. This is because the student got an academic renewal. And so instead of putting the grade, you would put an AR for academic renewal in the grade, and it's still transferable. So again, RP for repeated courses, AR for academic renewal. And then for Golden 4, we want to make sure that we're getting a passing grade for the Golden 4. So this student for COM 101, for English 101, they would need a C or better. And so this is what it will look like on the right-hand side. Once you're finished, when you press save, this is what it should look like. And then if you have any questions, I know this part is a little bit confusing. I know our transfer mentors will be available to review your Cal State applications as well in the future, hopefully through an online like webcamming format. But we will be here to assist you as well. We just want to make sure that you know when to put in your grades, when to put in W's, RPs, ARs, because this is really important for the schools to understand the classes that you've taken and how many units it was. Okay, so when you're finalizing your transcript, once you finish adding in all your coursework from every institution that you've attended, you will select Review and Finalize My Transcript. And so then you would be able to select your primary institution, which is typically where you will be receiving your associates or you accumulated the most units. So for example, if you've attended ELAC and you've also attended PCC and LA Trade Tech and LVCC, what school do you consider your primary institution? What school do you take the most classes at? Or what school are you getting your associate's degree at? And so if it's ELAC, you would select ELAC. And then there's also a part in the application where they'll ask you if you repeated any classes. And so you will identify courses that you have repeated and received a grade for. So it'll look like the image on the left where it says, did you repeat any classes? You can select yes or no. And then once you select yes, you can choose which classes you've repeated. So in this case, the student selected Math 125 and yeah. If you did not repeat any classes, you can select no. Okay. So for general education, this is what we talked about before with the golden 4 requirements, which is super important. Once you are done with your transcript entry, you'll go back and select the general education button. So as you identify the golden 4 requirements, you would input your grades as well. So some of them automatically select the classes for you, but it's your job to select or to check if it's right. So for critical thinking, the selected course is composition and critical thinking, and then it'll show your grade. For math, the student put statistics and they got an A in statistics. For oral communication, the student took public speaking and they got an A. And then for written communication, the student put in college reading and composition. So pretty much the scroll down button, you get to choose which class fulfills your golden 4 requirement. Make sure that you visit the Transfer Center either through our e-chat or by calling us for assistance if any questions come up. What's really important, and I would really want you to take from this, is that you need to identify your golden 4 and make sure it's right. Also, do not checkbox where it says, I am not adding any general education courses. Again, do not checkbox that, because once you check it off, it means that you're not taking any golden 4 courses, and that is what you need to transfer. So that'll be a huge problem. So make sure that you don't checkbox that and that you select the correct 4 classes that fulfill your golden 4 requirements. And so you'd press save and continue from there. The next part of this portion is standardized tests. You will be asked about your test results if you took the ACT, the GMAT. There will be some questions regarding AP, IB, and CLEP scores. And so you will be able to opt out from reporting the scores. It's not mandatory for you to report them. I would report them if you've taken it, but it is optional. Some students have never taken the ACT or the GMAT, and that's completely okay. You can click on that box that says, I am not adding any standardized tests. But if you took any like AP classes in high school and you took the AP test and you passed, you have credit for it, then definitely put in that information as well. But as a transfer applicant, these scores are not required. So for ACT, for GMAT, for SAT, things like that, you don't need it. For the third quadrant, we'll be going over supporting information. So there are 4 sections in this quadrant: the EOP, the parent guardian information and financial status, EOP biographical questions, and letters of recommendation. This will look a little different for international students, by the way. So this is what it looks like when you click on it, the Educational Opportunity Program. It's very similar to EOP and S if you're a part of that program at ELAC. And it'll ask you, are you currently enrolled in EOP and S program? If you are, then select yes. If you're not, then select no. And then the second question is, do you wish to apply to EOP? And if you are interested, then you can select yes. If you're not, then you can select no. There will be information on what EOP is about, and so it's designed to improve access and retention for historically low income and educationally disadvantaged students. And this is an extra part where you would have to ask for letters of recommendation and answer some questions. So the EOP application contains 4 sections, and you'll indicate whether or not you're interested and whether or not you're already in EOP and S here at ELAC. They'll ask you about your parent/guardian information and your financial status. So they'll ask you for tax information, income information, and then there will be some biographical questions that are short answer. So pretty much like getting to know you, getting to know the challenges that you faced as you are navigating higher education. And these are short answer questions. They just want to know who you are and why you're interested in this program. And then lastly, they'll ask you for letters of recommendation. So it's required that you have 2 letters of recommendation, and then it's from a staff or faculty member. You can follow up with your recommender as well to make sure that they're submitting it for you, because it is required to have 2 letters of recommendation. And then you can check deadlines for each campus you are applying to, because each of the Cal States have different EOP deadlines. So Cal State Olay's deadline may look different than Cal State Long Beach, for example. Okay. So lastly, the last quadrant is program materials. There's only 1 section, and I will show you what that looks like. It's pretty much just to, like some schools have additional material that you'll need for your major, and we'll see what that looks like. So once you're in this quadrant, you have to identify if there are additional requirements and information to the program you are applying to. So for Humboldt, I mean, no one wanted to attend Humboldt apparently in our poll today, but if you were interested in attending Humboldt for art history, this is what it will look like. And you'll be able to see if there are additional requirements. So for example, if you're an art major or a dance major or acting or whatever it is, some schools may ask for additional materials. So they might ask for a portfolio, they may ask for a video or headshots or something like that. This is where you'll find that information in this quadrant. So after you complete all the 4 quadrants, be sure to carefully review and edit your application. If there's an area where you're like, you know what, I'm not so sure if I put that in correctly, please reach out to us. That is what we're here for. And once you feel like you've thoroughly reviewed your application and feel like you're ready to submit, you can click the submit application button on the bottom, or not the bottom, the top of your screen. Keep in mind that some schools will require you to select an alternative major. The alternate major cannot be impacted. So again, what we went through in the beginning, if you're applying for a psychology major, but they ask you to select an alternate major, just be prepared to be accepted for that alternate major. And in this section, you will see whether or not you received an application fee waiver. So For fee waivers, it's based on the income or the tax information that you have put in your personal information at the beginning of the application. That's what will let you know whether or not you have received a fee waiver. But you won't be able to see this button until you complete all 4 quadrants. So they won't even tell you whether or not you received a fee waiver until the end. And then it's where the blue font that says check my fee waivers, at the end you can click on that and it should say like 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4, or 0 out of 4. The max amount of waivers that you can get is 4 free schools. So that means that you can send it to Cal State LA, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, and CSUN. And all those will be free if you get that fee waiver. Some students don't get a fee waiver at all. Some students get maybe 2 schools, or some students may even get all of the schools for, some students may get 4 schools for free. Again, the fee waivers cover 4 max. And in this section, after you checked your fee waivers, it says total fees right here. It's $55. So you can select submit all. Usually if you applied to more than 1 school, so the student only applied to East Bay, but if you added in like 4 schools, you'll be able to see all 4 schools here in this section. And you can press submit all. So this student got a fee waiver for 1 school. So where it says fee subtotal, it's $55. But it'll show that they applied the fee waiver for you. So it's minus $55. So the fee total is $0. And make sure that all your fees are accounted for. Otherwise, your application will not be fully submitted. So for those who may not get a fee waiver, make sure that you're able to pay for all of that and that it goes through. Make sure that you press continue for this, because this may seem like it's already complete, but you want to make sure that you get to that number 3 step where it says review and submit. And that means like you have to have a confirmation number in order to be sure that it's been submitted. And that's it. I recommend personally, once you get to that end page and it says like congratulations, you submitted your application, take a picture of that screen with your phone just so that you have that confirmation on your phone. And then just because it has like a green check mark doesn't mean that your application was submitted. I want to make sure that you're saying you're getting like a confirmation, like congratulations, you submitted your application. So make sure that you see that. But that was the end of our application. So for the time being, Nicole, if you can copy and paste the survey link onto the chat box so that everyone can take a survey and let me know how I'm doing and how I can improve in the future. Again, my name is Ivy, and my coworker's name is Nicole. And if you have any questions, we'll stick around and we'll try to answer more of your questions. But please take your time to take that quick survey just to let me know how I'm doing and how I can improve in the future. Or, if I'm doing like a great job, please put like great job. But yeah, we'll stick around to answer any questions. I know that we went through a lot and it may seem a bit confusing right now, but just know that the Transfer Center is here for you and we're rooting for your success. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach us through our e-chat, and hopefully we'll be able to help you in person in the future.